appreciate you being here. I'll go through some brief updates as I always do, turn it over then to John to then run us through questions and answers, answering questions that you may have of me. So as I start with public safety stats, and year-to-date stats, always using preliminary data from the New Orleans Police Department. Looking at September 2nd, again, comparing 2023 to 22, we just continue to see progress, steady progress, moving in the right direction. Total crimes against persons remain down at 18%. Murders are down 22%. Armed robberies are down 30%. Non-fatal shooting incidents are down 16%. Non-fatal shooting victims, 16% down in the city. Carjackings remain down at 43%. I wanted to give you just a brief update on the Mobile Crisis Intervention Unit. Again, that we onboarded, as you know, effectively June 1st. And it has just continued to prove that the city of New Orleans has made a real investment that is showing proof of that by meeting our people where they are, those who are suffering from mental crises, but also lifting the burden off of the New Orleans Police Department, our officers not having to respond to calls really where they are not needed. 625 calls since its launch, representing 29% of all mental health related calls to 911. Again, this is demonstrating in a very real way the resources that the city of New Orleans not only received, but that we deployed are being utilized effectively. And again, it's meeting our folks where they are most vulnerable. We have a responsibility to do that, and a holistic approach is our approach. June, we received 154 calls. July, 214 calls. August, 237 calls. So far, the month of September, we're at 20 calls. But you just see the average, and you see that steady, I believe, trust that we're displaying, trust that's being built in the community, and that is something that we will continue to do every day as we're responding to the needs of our people. And just another thank you to our public safety team across the board. Meet with my team weekly as a team. NOPD, EMS, OPCD, fire, you name it, Homeland Security. It just kind of spoke to me right now talking about meeting people where they are, and it just reminded me when I had to call 911 to come to my home because my husband had a heart attack. And so again, just reminded about how these hard-working public servants meet the needs of our people, where we find ourselves in a vulnerable state, and it can happen to all of us. Live oak trees. Okay. Now, due to the extreme heat, we know, and as we've been reporting, even as relates to the drought that we have been experiencing throughout the city as well, coming from off of years where we're seeing the highest rain events to then slowing down to no rain, and then here we come. We have a 25-year rainstorm event that we did experience in our city, and where we saw areas with more than 7 inches of rain in as little as 2 hours. I saw that again firsthand where I am on Louisiana Avenue Parkway in Broadmoor. We took on water there as well. I saw it coming fast, hard, not slowing up. And as a result of that, we had flooding on our street. Thank God, again, it slowed down. It allowed the pumps to catch up and again see that water going down. But we saw across the city, again, a 25-year rainstorm, 7 inches of rain in as little as 2 hours. There have been 3 mature live oak incidents across the city in less than 24 hours. So this, again, is an example of how the city of New Orleans, we're on the front lines of climate adaptation because climate has already changed. And we will continue to pivot as necessary, and of course make changes as necessary to mitigate ourselves, to adapt to the changing climate that comes our way. This is also with continuing to educate the public. Pay attention. These are signs, and they're clear, and it's not going to get better. It will progress, but that's why we have to continue to invest in our infrastructure, and this also means our tree canopy. We've been talking about this. It is very important, again, to reiterate that the tree on South Carrollton Avenue was a healthy live oak tree in the city of New Orleans, recently visited by an arborist, inspected. It was healthy. But because of climate adaptation, you know, all creatures, living creatures, are feeling it. Our live oak trees are feeling it. And so, again, we must pay attention. Park and Parkways has just seen a significant increase in the past few years, but with the last 24 hours truly being an anomaly. My tongue is just twisted. These incidents are potentially, we say, attributed to, again, climate that has already changed, which again is having an impact on our old, aged canopy throughout the city of New Orleans. And we have some of the oldest oaks in the country. And I used to say, hey, even when you know, a car can hit an oak, and you can pretty much say, hey, the oak will survive. You know, and I think about, you know, my sister there on South Claiborne Avenue. As you approach Jefferson, you kind of, it bends. And there's an oak that sits in front of their home, and it's been hit several times. And I tell you, the oak is still there, undamaged. But I am worried. We are worried. But we're taking our precautions seriously, and we're doing everything necessary again to address our urban canopy. I talked to you not long ago about the urban forestry, in terms of the federal government, identifying resources to help urban communities. New Orleans is on that list as a priority city. And again, we did respond to the grant proposals. We submitted, and hopefully we will be on our way with getting resources to meet our goal of planting over 40,000 trees in the city of New Orleans, and again, speaking to our urban canopy. But this is also aligned with climate adaptation, and that's exactly why our Office of Homeland Security, and I will have to give a little shout out to Austin Feldbaum. Austin has been on top of this front and center, looking at our urban heat, and doing his own analysis, looking at data, of course, in our city, but looking at national trends as well, global trends. He produced this data, he presented it to our team, presented it to me directly, but now that data is what is being used, and I really do appreciate the partnership that is evolving with the Office of Homeland Security, with the Office of Resiliency and Sustainability, and that with the New Orleans City Council, because I am told, and I'm very excited about an urban heat analysis that we'll be embarking upon. So I'm looking forward to that partnership. This also, again, demonstrates why we issued an emergency declaration on August 8th, and of course followed by the state of Louisiana. Pivoting to Lincoln Beach. We have been talking about Lincoln Beach relative to not only our investments in it, to make sure that we bring it back, this treasure, to the city of New Orleans, listening to the residents, listening to the people on the ground who said that this is a priority. We made it a priority, utilizing bond money, utilizing all aspects of our team, being engaged. It is not safe at this time. We're doing everything necessary towards the redevelopment of Lincoln Beach, but we continue to say, now is not the time. It is not safe. We need the residents to follow instructions, demonstrate civic trust, when we say do not go to Lincoln Beach, it is not safe now. So again, while the city is actively working to redevelop this site, and we're very excited about it, we have to ensure, again, the safety of our people. It's not safe. The crossing, in terms of that railroad track, is unsafe and prohibited by federal law. Again, please heed the warnings. And let me tell you, $24.6 million that we have allocated towards Lincoln Beach is again, that example that we're doing what we say, but now Lincoln Beach is not safe. Turning to something I'm very excited about again, and I want to thank neighborhood leaders across this city who engaged with me in a meeting many months ago. As I took to them a proposal, I wanted to increase the level of WISNER dollars that we would allocate towards neighborhood engagement, but specifically for neighborhood enrichment grant opportunities. And so I said, listen, I want to increase those resources to $500,000. With the council's involvement, I wanted to make sure that the community leaders not only understood, but they were partnering with me in this request, and they demonstrated that commitment by saying, listen, Mayor, we know this grant program, it works for us. We've seen the benefits of this in our community, but yes, if we can increase the amount to $5,000 to $7,500, that they could go even deeper. So what we have done, we've moved forward, we've activated WISNER dollars, $500,000, and the neighborhood enrichment grant opportunity has been unveiled. Again, it's designed to get residents more engaged in their neighborhood by developing beautification and or green infrastructure projects. Again, climate adaptation, beautification, it really goes hand in hand. And of course, with my priority of cleaning this city up. It starts where we live, and again, $5,000 to $7,500 could go a long way. The application deadline is Friday, September the 15th at 5 p.m. And for more details, I'll say go to NOLA.gov/fall grant. We're saying fall grant because one, it's the fall. With the allocation of $500,000, it sets the city up and really neighborhoods up for additional grant opportunities with the same allocation of $500,000. So as I'm looking at September 5th, I talked to my team yesterday, if we can roll out another grant opportunity December, preparing for January 2024, again, just keeping this at a steady cadence so that the residents not only see the work, but get involved in improving, beautifying, and mitigating flooding in the city. Pivoting here, short-term rental. The TRO. I've been getting so many calls, so many emails about the short-term rental. And this is from, our community residents who have really done the right thing. They followed the rules that the city had in place. They have been a part of the short-term rental fabric for over about 5 years, and now they feel very slighted. And I believe that they have reason. But hopefully, we can make sure in every way that they can get more engaged and working with the New Orleans City Council to produce an ordinance that will pass the test. And that means be approved by the courts, the U.S. courts. It's important. And as we've seen the pushback, this is again another example. So pending further orders, we will be awaiting, meaning the administration, okay? So the city will comply, as we always do, with the orders, and we will not be accepting any applications for non-commercial or commercial short-term rental licenses. And this is something, again, that our residents, those that have been a part of our short-term rental fabric, they're feeling the brunt of it. But I have to say, the city is too, because this is lost revenue for the city of New Orleans. Okay, so there are consequences, and there are consequences relative to our bottom line and revenues generated by short-term rental on both sides of it, city directly and even our community, our residents that have been a part of the short-term rental fabric. So in accordance with this order, the application period set for September 1st through the 7th and the corresponding lottery set for October 2nd will be canceled. And this is again because of the order, nothing to do with the administration, but again, I encourage all those who care and who are concerned to be engaged with the New Orleans City Council on this. So with that, I'm going to stop, take me some water, turn it over to you, John, and I'll answer any questions you bring forth.
Starting with Shaver WDSU, if you have a question.
Okay, just when it comes to the tree along South Carrollton Avenue, I know you said that it had recently been inspected. Do you have the date of when it was inspected?
It was June, let's see. Check to see if I have it right here in front of me. I do not, but we'll get it right to you. Yeah, we'll get it right to you.
No problem, and I just had a couple more questions. I know you talked about Lincoln Beach and it not being open to public. If you could tell us about the incident that happened involving the teenager. I know there was someone who was bitten by an alligator, if you want to.
You know, I'm not going to get into the details of that. I'm just not. Many of the aspects are still under investigation, but I don't want to overstep, or over talk, I would say, discuss it. The bottom line is, the biggest takeaway, Shay, is that Lincoln Beach is unsafe. And these examples are clearly making it known, again, publicly, that it is not safe for the public at this time. I think that's the biggest takeaway.
And I know the City Council recently filed a motion to direct the Office of Workforce Development to distribute the payments owed to the teens and young adults that hadn't been compensated through Job 1. They were supposed to be paid by today. So I was just wanting to know an update if everyone has been paid. If you could give us an update for Job 1 in North.
So as it relates to this, as I've been saying, the team collectively has been working tirelessly to ensure that all of our summer teens that participated in summer employment receive their full compensation. I do know that as of today, things have been moving in that, in that process has been moving forward. So I have every reason, right, to believe that things are going accordingly to what we have said. And so after today, we'll give you an update on that, but every single day it's been a priority. And I'm just, again, grateful to my young folks who not only participated, but also who has just been waiting and patiently, but understanding as well. They will get paid, but I will tell you the biggest payment is the experience that they gained over the summer that will live with them throughout a lifetime.
We've got to move on, but I'll try to come back to you. Foxy?
Back to the trees, you mentioned that there were 3 live oak incidents in the past 24 hours. When you say incident, what exactly do you mean?
Just what I mean is that incidents relative to oaks, meaning whether they were challenged, I would say, by this rain event. And so we've seen over the past 24 hours. And so I know that my director of Park and Parkways is very focused on this and even prepared, I would say, to give frequent updates. But it's based on inspections that are underway. But I tell you, within the past 24 hours, we're just seeing how our oaks are burdened.
Is that they're looking stressed, they're falling,
They are
they're
stressed.
leaning?
Our oaks in the city of New Orleans are stressed. They are. There's no question about it. All of them are stressed. And that is something that it's a fact. So as a result of that, we are doing everything possible to make sure that not only we can inspect, but also respond. But again, we have thousands of oak trees in the city of New Orleans that have been living with us for hundreds of years. So it's a massive undertaking, but I will say I am confident that we're focusing and making this a priority, given, again, our urban canopy is impacted, but it's also a part of how we address and mitigate ourselves from climate change, the impacts of climate change.
Sophie with the FP.
Thank you. I'm wondering about the short-term rental regulations, and I know that the idea of an all-out ban has been floated in the past. I'm wondering if that's something that you're in favor of, potentially not at all, just how you would respond to that idea.
Well, on the New Orleans City Council that I served on, we passed legislation. And that legislation was in place and moving well. I think that I was very much supportive with 5 years. It's always good, right, to take a step back and do, a review. I think that is healthy. But what is happening now is not healthy. So I'm looking for us, the city, the council, to get us back to balance and get us back again to that balance that speaks to the residents that have been good stewards in this program, that are not in it to get rich at all, but has made it a part of their income. And it has had an impact. It's come to a screeching halt. That has an impact, and that doesn't help anyone. So no one's winning here. So I'm looking to get back to balance, and I believe that the New Orleans City Council that I served on, that passed legislation on the front end, we got it right. We definitely got it better than where we are right now.
Alyssa with WWL.
Good morning. You mentioned the tree on South Carrollton was healthy. Can you just explain what a healthy tree constitutes and what the characteristics of that would be, especially since you said our oaks are also stressed?
Well, they are stressed, and I'll let Park and Parkways and arborists really speak to, because it's science, and I'm not an arborist, okay? So I don't want to get it wrong. I want to get it right. The city of New Orleans wants to get it right. So we are talking with, working with experts in this area. But I'll leave that to my director, Michael Karam, to speak, I would say, more specifically relative to the live oaks.
Residents told us that that tree had a limb fall about a month ago. We also saw in Jackson Square a limb had fallen about a month before that tree kind of gave out. It seems like those are different circumstances as to why both of those trees failed. But is there any plans to reassess how Parks and Parkways assesses these trees and how often they go and inspect them, considering now we've had a few incidents like this?
Well, as I said, Park and Parkways, because of climate adaptation, the stress that we see on our oaks, the hundreds, right, that we have throughout the city of New Orleans, and with us being on the front lines, it requires us. We don't have a choice. We have to examine ways that we can further mitigate and adapt to the climate that has already changed. Our living creatures, our oaks, are a part of that. And so, yes, we are taking a look and seeing how we can improve and even do better considering the environment and the climate has changed.
Carly with Axios.
Hi, good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
You mentioned that there were 3 tree incidents. So one of the trees fell on South Carrollton.
Mhm.
What happened to the other 2 trees and where are they in the city?
I'll get you an update after this.
Thank you.
Specific to those 3 trees.
Okay, great, thank you.
Kenny with WGNO.
Hi, Mayor. How you doing?
Good morning. Thank you.
So there are some light poles on St. Charles Avenue across from Tulane and Audubon Park, and they're living on the edge. It looks like they're about to fall. They're rusty, they're old, and a lot of runners are very concerned about these light poles. And so I'm just wondering, what's the status of repairing some of these light poles around the city that are aging and could fall potentially?
So first of all, I want to make sure that we inspect the light poles that you're mentioning. You said Tulane and St. Charles. Well,
It's
give it to me again.
on St. Charles Avenue on the streetcar line.
Okay. You
across
said
from-
by Tulane.
Yeah, by Tulane University and
Okay.
Audubon Park, the entrance.
Okay.
And lots of runners are kind of getting scared if they run underneath us that it could fall.
Sure. So what I want to do is put my team on it, even get my eyes on it, to even have some sense of what type of light poles.
Okay.
Whether they are Entergy, so I really need to do my own due diligence
Okay.
before I respond to that specifically. But what I will say is that we'll look into this, and any residents that have an issue, please report that to 311 so that we can collect that data. But I'll get with my team on this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Just wanted
right
to make you
after
guys
this.
aware, yeah.
Absolutely.
I just want to ask
ahead.
a quick question? Would Michael Karen be available for an interview to talk about these tree incidents and the status of healthy versus unhealthy and stuff like that? Is the city gonna make him available?
We can get with you on that.
Sure, Michael, Karen, we always make him available, and we will do so specifically around the crises, I would say, that we're seeing relative to live oaks and the stresses that are being placed upon them.
And I know you had a follow-up and then we're done.
Okay, so this is from another reporter at our station. The attorney who was with Gregory Joseph at last week's council meeting, is the city planning on paying her for her services? And then also, if council tries to have Gregory terminated, what steps would you take to keep him?
Well, first of all, I'm not, and I wouldn't be surprised, particularly by the actions that have been consistent with this particular city council, that they would move to do that, meaning to move to terminate an employee that is within the mayor's office and that works specifically and directly for me. Their actions, again, have been personal and have been harmful to city employees. And it's unfortunate. And I'm so disappointed, I have to say, in the actions of leadership of the New Orleans City Council from the start, I would say, of this tenure. We have 858 more days to go. I really would hate, right, that we would continue to see this type of behavior, these types of bullying tactics, the political trickery, the disrespect of individuals who continue to work hard on behalf of the city of New Orleans and do the work every day. So Mr. Joseph is I would say, is similar to many other incidents, whether Jonathan Rhodes, one of my people. The list literally can go on based on the actions of this council. And so, again, it's unfortunate. I'm not surprised. But I support my employees, those who show up, those who do the job, those who deliver results on behalf of the city of New Orleans. Gregory Joseph is one of those employees.
Thank you all.
Really quickly, can we get an update on the police chief search?
I'm good.